Hey everybody, I'm back. Welcome back to Conversations with Cogee. We back in for a second hour again. We got my man, if you just missed it, Mr. William Lopez, who served 23 years, y'all, for something he didn't do. And I mean that. The man's holding strong like an oak tree. And I mean that. What's up, William?
Okay, Cogee. Okay, standing up like an oak tree.
That's right, baby. You standing strong. I mean that. And I got my main man in with me today, who's my co-host, Mr. Jeffrey Deskovic. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, Coach. And you know the segue into this second hour was so on point, man, because it illustrates why there's a need, for you and I and other people in the field to be working on this. If this was really just an isolated example, if this wasn't happening with an alarming regularity, there would be no need for us to do it. But there's wrongful convictions, are happening at a much higher rate than what most of us in society realize.
That's right. I hear you. And we also got my man in, who's my panel guest, 24/7, my other brother. What's up with you, Alan, man?
What's going on, Cogee?
I hear you. Let me ask you this, Alan, man, real quick, right out the gate. Jeffrey just said something that was really right. It's a lot of higher convictions nowadays. Why is it important for people to call in and be a part of this movement like you did today? You took time out of your schedule. I know what your schedule is like, but you gave us this minute today, or these few minutes, or this hour, whatever you got. It was important for you to do it. Why? And why is it important for our public to understand this? When we make these kind of shows and we have these kind of shows, we need the support.
That's right. It's important because, people need to know that there's other people out there who really care. We care about people. We care about what happened to you, and we want to see everybody treated the right way,
That's right.
And in so many cases today, so many people are treated unfairly. And that's why I love your show, because your show is always positive. It's always giving us answers to things that we don't know. So, it was important for me to call in. That way, not just me, but everyone else have a better understanding of what type of judicial system we have. And, just ways you can try to go around, not being in that situation yourself.
That's right. You're definitely right about that, man. You're definitely right about that. And like I said, I do appreciate your voice. I appreciate you being a part of, me and Jeffrey's movement today, and William. And I definitely appreciate, like I said, man, you taking time out of your life to help somebody who, all the people who need the help the most. Like William was saying, see, these people can't fight strongly, but they need the support from us, and that's what we're doing. So let me go to Jeffrey real quick. Jeffrey, we got Mr. Lobato. He's on the phone right now. He'll be coming in a minute. I want you to definitely speak on what you think a father goes through when his children, a child is going through this situation, Jeffrey.
It's unimaginable, and it's only from that perch on the tree where I can glance over the canyon and just get a little bit of an idea, and that's just based on my conversations. When I was incarcerated wrongfully, my mother told me that the hardest thing for her was when the visit was over and it was time to go home, and she had to leave her son behind, in the prison, a dangerous place, for something that she knew I didn't commit. That was such an emotional and heartbreaking moment, and that it was an emotional ride home all the time.
That's right. That's right, man. I hear you on that. Well, everybody, hey, like I said, we definitely doing this show for Kirstin Lobato today, and we got so much love for her. And we definitely need you guys to get on board for this DNA testing. It means a lot. And, I thought about this when I was in the shower this morning. This is what crossed my mind. Can you imagine, just being accused of something, and for a fact that you got witnesses and you can get out of it and it ain't no problem. But then they turn to, like an elderly person, see the situation and they really see it, know you didn't do it, but their vision is kind of messed up. So with the vision being kind of messed up, now that just hurt the case. But DNA can come in and clear you right up. Long as we keep DNA out of this whole situation, it's going to be a rough ride for a lot of people. Can you express, your views on that real quick, Jeffrey?
Yeah, absolutely. DNA is only around at 5 to 12% of all serious felony cases. So if you're wrongfully convicted in a case that has it, you should consider yourself extremely lucky. DNA is the most reliable piece of evidence that there is. It's referred to by experts and people in the legal field as the gold standard.
That's right.
And it's beyond belief that Kirstin Lobato remains incarcerated despite already being excluded by DNA on 2 times. She shouldn't have to fight to try to get 13 more items tested. She should be released already.
That's right.
But the fact of the matter is she does, and we have to push forward for those other 13 items.
That's right. And you know what? Can't nobody tell his story like her dad can tell his story, and she can tell the story. She ain't here to tell her story, so her dad can tell the story. I want to welcome to the show today Mr. Lorenzo Lobato. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I want to say it definitely was a pleasure meeting you at the movement this week. And I want to say that, you got that love, that compassion in your eyes for your baby, but you got that fight in you. I love you. You got that dog in you. You holding on. How important is it for a parent to do that for their child, to keep that fire burning strong, even when you see your child get weak? You go visit your child. You see your child can't take no more. How important is it for that parent or that family member or friends to rise that person back up?
Well, it's one of the most important things that there is. You have to stay on top of your game, which, is difficult at times, especially when, a guy like me, I've always been, the one that the family goes to. I've always felt like, Atlas. I can do anything.
That's right.
But when they took away my daughter's freedom and I felt hopeless, and if I felt weak, what do you do? You got to try and stay strong in the eyes of your child, but you also have to stay strong for yourself and for the rest of your family. It's very difficult.
That's right.
So, Mr. Lobato, I want to jump in and ask the question: How important is it to you as a father to know that it's not just up to Kirstin's lawyers or you to fight for your daughter, but that there's many supporters out there of her and people who are working to shine light on her case and to recruit still more people to support and help. How comforting is that?
It's it's very important to keep that support group up and to know and it's important in a number of ways. It's important because we know that the fight isn't over. It's never ending. It's a constant, and you got to do it just the same every day as if though it were the beginning. Because we're nowhere near the end.
That's right.
I mean, there's so many hurdles that we still have to jump through. It's insane.
That's right.
I mean, here we are. It's 2013, and we're supposed to live in a rational, civilized society, but yet there is still dirty pool. All right, and there's no checks and balances. That is what's the biggest hurdle of all. The importance of staying focused and staying with the fight. That's one thing. Being supportive of your child that's incarcerated is another. Most people don't realize, because they're not in that situation, that when your child is in a certain situation and there's nothing that you can do about it, there is one thing that you can do, and that is stay positive. Don't talk about the case all the time, because she lives the case every day.
That's right.
So when we go to see her, all we bring is love, and we bring what's happening in our lives, and bring that to her, so she is actually involved in what's happening in our lives. So that gives her a little bit of exit from that situation that she's in. She doesn't want to talk about the case with us all the time. She has lawyers and people that are designated for that.
That's right.
She wants to talk to us about stuff that matters.
Right.
To us.
I hear you. You're definitely right about that. You know what? Let me ask you this, Mr. Lobato. What kind of daughter was your daughter growing up? Let's talk about that.
In all actuality, when she was little, she was a sweet little girl. And then that miraculous change happens that happens to all young ladies. And there was a little bit of a wild side to her, and she was one of those kind of children that, she was a little bit wild. She was a little adventurous, but she had a good heart. She always was there for the people that needed her.
I hear you.
And
to see someone like her be in the situation that she is, it's sad. But, I have to have faith in the man upstairs that everything happens for a reason. And maybe, just maybe, this is where she needs to be. I hate to say it like that, but maybe this is where she needs to be because she's got unfinished business. I don't know.
Right.
I would love for her to come home, but, the system isn't looking good, all right?
Right.
There's a lot of resistance. If they would just look at the picture the way that it's supposed to be looked at, there wouldn't even be any question.
What's some shady stuff? And then I'm coming to you, Jeffrey. You next, Mr. Lobato. What's some shady stuff about this whole case that is so black and white that she shouldn't even be in there right now? I mean, where you can it's cut and dry.
Well, let me put it to you like this: when you walk around in a courtroom and you're allowed to walk around and carry a bat over your shoulder and talk about that this man's head was crashed in with a bat, and all the forensics, even their forensic people, their medical examiner said that it was inconsistent with a bat, but yet he was still allowed to parade around that way. That, to me, is shady, all right? To fabricate a story and not back it with any physical evidence, that is shady. That is corrupt. And I don't care if they're listening to the story. I've called them out before. I'll call them out again. The truth is the truth. Stop hiding behind your lies and whatever it was that you're trying to hide behind, and let's bring the truth out. If you got nothing to hide, test the DNA and prove your damn case.
Right. Hold on. One more thing, Jeffrey. Mr. Lobato, let me ask you this question real quick. Do you think sometime when I know your heart goes out for your daughter, but when you speak openly like that, do you think that hurts the whole situation, of them being
I hope
resistant?
not. I hope that it doesn't. I'm not trying to hurt her case. Of
I
course
understand.
not. What I'm trying to do is, say how I feel. This is what this forum is about.
Right, that's
and
right.
I'm saying how I feel.
Okay. Okay.
I was in law enforcement, so I know that, stuff happens, but I still believe in our system. As bad as the situation is,
right.
Okay?
Okay.
I still believe that our system works.
Okay.
Our system has some things that need to be adjusted, but I still believe in our system. We have to. But if you're going to convict somebody, all right? If you're going to convict somebody, don't convict them by suppressing something.
That's right.
Bring it all to the table.
That's right.
And show the truth.
Yeah, let's play.
Because the truth is the truth.
That's right.
And eventually, the truth comes out.
That's right.
We all know that as kids we told lies, and one lie, you had to tell another lie to cover the lie that you already told.
Right.
Then you had to tell another lie to cover that lie, and eventually you got caught.
That's right. So that's why I wanted to ask you that question a minute ago, because I wanted to make it plain to everybody that you're not speaking out to hurt your daughter's case. You're right. This is a form of open, free speech, and that's why you on here today, just speaking on the love of your daughter. So I wanted to cover you on that and just let the listeners know this is coming from your heart. This has nothing to do aimed at your daughter's case. This is just a father's love, a father's love.
I'm not aiming it at anybody directly.
That's right.
All right. What I'm doing is I'm firing at the system.
That's right.
If we're gonna go by a checks and balances system, then let's check it all, let's balance it all, and then let's come up with the equation come up with the answer at the end.
That's
but
right.
Let's come up with the right answer. Granted, we all make mistakes, but we can't live on a mistake. We can't compound the mistake by making other mistakes.
That's right.
You gotta find the truth.
That's
all we're asking for is the truth.
That's right.
If the DNA proves that she did it, so be it.
Okay.
I know that it's not the case, but if the DNA can prove that she did it, and it can also prove that she didn't do it, all right?
Okay.
End of story.
It's on you, Jeffrey.
Yeah, Mr. Lobato, as we met at the event and we discussed that, you used to work as a correction officer. How ironic is it? Wrongful convictions can happen to anybody. So we know that as a general truism. But as someone who used to work as a corrections officer, did you ever in a million years think that someone you were related to would find themselves incarcerated for something they were completely innocent of? And do you ever think about that?
Of course, I never thought that. That's nothing that I ever even thought about. That It's always possible that someone that you know or that you love can be convicted of a crime that they did. But to have them convicted of a crime that they didn't do, again, that hurts me deeply because, yes, I still believe in the system. You know, even today, my daughter's been in prison for 12 years. I still believe in the system. I believe that in the end, the system will recognize the mistakes that it has made and make things right. I have to believe that.
So in other words, so in your mind, you believe that at some point, through assistance of advocates and attorneys, that the legal system will recognize that Kirstin is innocent and that she will in fact walk out of prison completely cleared.
Absolutely. I have absolutely no doubt that if it's looked at correctly, and that's what we're trying to do, and that's what all of us are trying to do, is we're trying to look at this whole picture in the right light. Look at it correctly. If it's looked at correctly and all the evidence is examined the way that it should be, and everything is done the way that it should be done, I have absolutely no doubt that my daughter's innocence will be proved and she will walk out of there a free woman.
I hear you, man. And you know what? Let me ask you this, Mr. Lobato. What has this whole situation done to the family structure?
In some ways, well, it took a while to get to where we are now. A circumstance like that has a lot of different effects on a family. Mm-hmm. And it can cause a lot of different things, okay? In our personal experience, it almost ruined my marriage. It broke my family apart because, and it had nothing to do with us being on different sides of the fence. It was just the way that all the pressures attacked the family.
That's right.
But after a while, they say time heals all wounds. Well, yes, it helps to heal them. And it brought us closer together. Mm-hmm. Now, better more than ever before, we are a very close-knit family.
That's cool. That's cool. And what
but it took a bumpy road to get here.
Right, but I was going to ask you, because right now, not only are we putting that movement out there and that message, but we also teaching as we go along. What should couples do, husband and wives, what should they do in these circumstances to try to hold it tight? When you look back on it, where did y'all go wrong in y'all's communication or whatever? And you said, okay, well, probably if I hadn't came at her like this, probably if I would have listened a little more, the family wouldn't have never been rocked. We could have just, made it through it.
Well, to be blunt and to be honest to the people out there listening and to you guys, it causes a lot of pain. This type of situation, it causes a lot of pain. And people cover up their pain in different ways.
That's right.
All right?
Yeah.
Mine, I use drugs and alcohol. That didn't help with anything.
I hear you.
Okay? And that's the kind of thing that got in between things.
Okay?
You have to recognize that there's an issue. And you have to actually talk to each other and not at each other. And that happens. Because you're not really discussing the problem. You're compounding the problem by unleashing on each other rather than coming together.
Mr. Lobato, is there an emotional roller coaster that you and your wife experience, both driving to the prison in the visiting room and then afterwards? Is there like a high you experiencing? Hey, we're about to go see my daughter, and then you're leaving and she's got to stay behind, or is it at this point you've gotten to a different mental place and so that's viewed at and felt differently? Why don't you share about that?
Well, at first, when she was taken from us, it was very difficult to go and see her and leave her behind. Yes. And, everyone was sad. She was sad. We were sad. It was emotional. We would all cry when we would be taken away from each other. But over the years, my daughter has grown from an 18-year-old scared little girl to a 30-year-old beautiful, well-adjusted woman, as well-adjusted as one could be being in the circumstance that she's in. Now, like I said, when we visit each other, we talk about family, we talk about life, we tell funny stories. She tells us about funny things and, interesting things that happen to her, and we tell her stuff that happens to us. And when we part now, it's not as sad. Right. We still don't want to leave her there. Of course we don't.
Right.
but it's not as emotional a farewell as it was, getting to this point.
Right.
Now we kiss and hug each other and smile and say goodbye, and
looking forward to the next
I'll call
time.
you when you guys get home. So, luckily we do have the ability to talk to each other often. She can call home whenever she needs to call home, and we have a set schedule. So it's just almost in a kind of a weird way, because you have to adjust.
Yes, sir.
In kind of a weird way, it's just like she's out in the world, and I'll call you on Sunday. Okay.
That's right.
And,
like she lives out of town.
Yes, pretty much.
Right.
I think
It's
it's,
like-
looking back at my own situation, Cogee, I found it as an essential coping device that you have to try to, normalize the madness, lest you lose your mind.
Right.
You know what, Jeffrey? That's exactly the way I think. You said it just right. You do have to normalize it as much as possible, and in your own head, in your own heart, you have to adjust things so that it is actually, feels normal. It's not, but at least I'm going to say this, and I'm going to tell you how I, as just me. I'm not going to talk for anyone else. How I've come to grips with the entire situation. The wild path that my daughter was on, she was, doing things she shouldn't do. She was taking risks she shouldn't take. Without getting too graphic, I'm just going to say, for me, it was the way that I can deal with things is that I'm happy that I can speak to her once or twice a week. I know where she is. I know that she's safe. Okay?
Right.
I know that she is safe. I would much rather visit her in prison than take flowers to her grave.
That's right. You right about that as a father. You definitely right about that. And let me
Okay, because that headstone is not going to answer me when I ask her questions.
That's right.
But I can go in there and I can see her, and I can ask her questions, and she can answer me, and that gives me some comfort.
Right. Do you have other kids, Mr. Lobato?
Yes, we do. We have one that's 4 years younger than Blaze.
Okay, and I was going to ask you, what does that do to the young family structure? When you see your oldest sibling go through something like this, I mean, what did your child go through? You said you and your wife went through stuff, but what did you go through as a family as far as with your other child?
Well, the other one is a completely different person.
Okay.
Okay, the way that she handles things, she's of a different era than we are.
Right.
And they compartmentalize stuff. They don't show a lot of emotion. And what she has done, and it has made her very successful in her personal life and her business life, is that she's very focused. She she works full time. She goes to school full time. She keeps herself occupied.
I hear you.
She doesn't have a lot of downtime, and
Right.
she did that. And basically, it really started right after her sister went to prison.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and so I think keeping herself occupied and really never showing emotion, really never letting it bother her on the outside.
Right. I hear
She's
you.
one that keeps things on the inside.
Right.
Now she's grown, and she happens to be here today with me.
Oh, okay.
She just had her wisdom teeth pulled, so she come over to spend the rest of the afternoon with Dad. So Dad and Mom.
That's cool.
So we can watch her, and
I hear you.
she's still our baby girl too.
And definitely send
we
our
can't
love
wait
to her.
for the moment when we can all be together.
I hear you.
But be together free.
That's right.
I mean, we have all gone together to see her, and we have pictures that, our family portraits that we take. So there's all four of us in there as time has progressed.
Right.
But we're looking forward to the time when we can all sit at the, Thanksgiving table and give thanks for, the life that we have and the blessings that we've received.
That's right. I hear you.
Speaking on that point, Mr. Lobato, talk about how difficult is the holidays when they come around and is that missing place at the table?
To tell you the truth, for us, the holidays don't exist. We don't celebrate much. I mean, we'll have Thanksgiving dinner, but it's Thanksgiving dinner minus one of our, important, our important pieces. There's an empty chair at the table. So it's not a celebration, so to speak. We try to, and it's very difficult at times. We try to give thanks for the blessings that we do have, and not dwell on the blessings that we don't have. Right. As far as Christmas and those kind of things, we don't really celebrate much. We don't put up a Christmas tree. We don't do lights. It's like time has frozen for us,
right?
In a sense,
right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
we're like caught in a vacuum, and time has kind of stood still in a way.
Right, I understand.
Okay, I believe that we'll probably go into hyper celebration when our unit is complete.
That's right. I hear you. Let me ask you this question, Mr. Lobato.
Just call me Lorenzo, please.
Okay, Lorenzo. All right. Lorenzo, let me ask you this question. What would you say to other fathers out there that still have a chance to make things, right with their children, far as, like you said, if they feel their child is trying to get out there and they can see that their child is getting out there a little bit, they might feel, well, I'm a little too busy, I'll talk to her later, or we'll discuss this later. How important is it to get up on top of stuff now and nip it in the bud before it all goes down?
I think that's the most important thing. If I could go back, I would do some things a little bit differently. Of course, I gave my children a chance to be children. You got to let them get out there and make their mistakes and do what they're doing. But it's inexcusable to say, I'm too busy, I will talk to you later, because there may not be a later. You got to make time now. Spend time with your children now. Love them now, because you may not get tomorrow to do that.
That's right. You
all right, and I mean that wholeheartedly, not just from a, don't do that just with your children. Do that with your spouse. Do that with your family. Make sure that you love them now and that you talk to them now, today. If you haven't talked to your mom in a long time, pick up your telephone and talk to your mother, talk to your father, even if you guys are mad at each other, because you may not get a chance to mend that.
That's right. You're definitely right about that. And you know what? You definitely hit it on the nose, and that's what I've been preaching, on all these exoneree shows, for the fathers to definitely get up on their game. I mean, either before something happens or as soon as they get out, you got to come and grab those kids. If you've been gone 20 years and your child has been on their own, they need you, because what they've been doing is just living off what they seeing on TV. They living off what they see out in the street. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes the streets can be your step-parents. And that's what we don't
absolutely.
want. That's what we don't want.
Children today are being raised by electronics.
That's right. Yeah, definitely.
All right? They're getting their information from electronics, and electronics have no emotion. It has no empathy. It has no sympathy.
You got that right.
And they don't learn that, and that's a very big. Those are big qualities that humans need to have.
That's right.
When we're being desensitized, it doesn't matter anymore, but it does. Everything matters.
I hear you.
That's the thing I want to tell the dads out there. Guys, everything matters. Stop the problem before it happens, not when it's happening, because when it's happening, it's already too late.
That's right. You got that right, Lorenzo. You hit that on the nose. Let me do this real quick. Helen just entered the building. She's right here on the mic. So, Jeffrey, you want to bring her in with some great encouraging words and let the people
absolutely.
Let people know who Helen is.
A central figure in the Kirstin Lobato case in terms of the advocacy and the structure, around the legal team is Helen Caddes of Las Vegas. From putting together a good website to social media to organizing events to spreading the word by word of mouth. If it has to do with Kirstin Lobato, Helen Caddes is in there somewhere.
I'd
like to welcome Helen Caddes.
Now, we definitely got to let Lorenzo get a little bit of this, too. Lorenzo, what would you like to say about Helen?
Well, what can I not say about Helen? All right. Helen is an angel, all right? God sent her to us. There's no other way to put it. She has done so many things that it's hard to say them all. But she's her and Michelle Revelle are the rocks, all right? They're the rocks that have been on top of this. My wife and I wouldn't know what to do. We wouldn't know how to go about doing things. And And Helen has actually come and went, you know what? I don't know what to do either, but this is what I'm going to do. And
That's right. Keep it
she's
moving.
amazing. That's all I can say is that she's absolutely amazing.
I hear you. Well, hey, no further ado. Here's Helen. Hey, Helen, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Cogee. How are you? Thank you so much, everybody, for the introductions. That's so nice.
Welcome to see you again so soon.
Yeah.
You want to say what we did this week?
Yeah, we organized the most amazing conference in Las Vegas on May 16th and 17th. It was fantastic. The first night, we had some amazing speakers. We had local award-winning journalist Stephen Jackson, who did a presentation on his video that you can see on YouTube, prosecuting Kirstin Lobato, which gives a really good 10-minute summary of the facts and the details in the Kirstin Lobato wrongful conviction case.
Okay.
Then he was followed by Special Agent Steve Moore, retired Special Agent Steve Moore, who's well known for his advocacy on the Amanda Knox case. He went all the way to Italy to advocate for her, his own investigation into the shoddy police work there.
Wow.
And this is a gentleman who was a career prosecutor for 25 years. He led operations against Al-Qaeda for the whole Los Angeles metropolitan area for the FBI on 9/12. So this is a real, official FBI agent who said, look, and the way he put it is this: when I saw the injustice, my silence would be neglect.
That's right.
It would be worse than neglect.
Yeah.
My silence would be my integrity. How would I live with myself? How would I look in the mirror every day, knowing that she's innocent and I didn't do a thing?
That's right. And let's talk about the attorneys that stepped up also.
Oh, yeah. Kirstin Lobato's legal team. We were honored to open the event with Travis Barrick, who has been Kirstin's lead counsel for years. Mm-hmm. He put in her habeas petition. He has tirelessly worked for Kirstin's case. And her new attorney, Fung Jefferson, just came on the case. And she's got an attorney advocate right now, JBFO Manin, who's been advocating for her from Rochester, New York.
And he sends his love. I talked to him right before the show today. He couldn't be here. He's on a flight back to New York right now. But he sends his love and to let everybody know, please support the movement.
Exactly. And he is the man who came up to me. And he said, you know what? You sat here, you told me about this case. You took your time to tell me all the facts and details. And I didn't just believe you because I can't do that. I went and I poured over all the information and I made my own conclusions.
That's right.
And I am convinced that she's innocent.
I hear you.
And that's great. That's great when people do their own research.
You're definitely right about that. Now, I wanted to say this to you. You got another special great guy with you right now who's definitely on fire for this movement. But he's coming in the last hour. He's going to have that last hour with me and Jeffrey and all of us to tell his story. But let me ask you, sir, how important is it for you to be here?
Well, it's a pleasure. And hey, Jeffrey, this is Kirk Bloodsworth calling from Vegas.
Hi, Kirk.
I just got into town, and Kirstin Lobato is an innocent woman, unjustly accused and housed in a place that she doesn't belong for 10 years.
Right.
We got to get her out.
Yes,
And this lovely lady sitting to my left, Helen, talked me into this thing, which wasn't really hard. I mean, I had been trying to do something, so I'm going to be writing some op-eds and seeing what kind of work I can do, but I'm going to fight for the girl.
I hear you. What would you like to say to Lorenzo? Her dad's on the line, too.
Lorenzo, it's a sad thing to have your child sit in harm's way for a crime she didn't commit. There's no possible way that this young lady committed this act, and I'm here to support you and her as best I can until we bring her home.
Hey, I really appreciate that, and I know that she appreciates everybody's efforts too. We do. We have to stay on top of this. We have to keep moving forward, and we do have to get her out. That's because that's the right thing to do.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Lorenzo,
Helen, I wanted to ask you a question, Helen. Now, you didn't know Kirstin Lobato back when she was free, and yet you've become this, tireless advocate. I dare say maybe her foremost advocate. Why don't you share with listeners how did it come about that you became aware of the case and got so passionate and have moved to the forefront? Because I want to emphasize again, if it has to do with Kirstin Lobato, okay, Helen Caddes' fingerprints are on it somewhere, somehow. So how did you get involved?
Well, Jeffrey, I was a pre-law major at Middle Tennessee State University, and I had just come from an internship at the American Friends Service Committee National Office in Philadelphia in the Peacekeeping Unit and Communications Department with Tony Horizon and some really great guys up there when I was attending Antioch College, which is a really great school, really impassioned about social advocacy. So I had just transferred to Middle Tennessee State, and I got interested in wrongful conviction cases, and I found out about another case, that it was too late to do anything about, where there's some inadequate assistance of counsel and terrible evidence handling as usual, right? And I said, there has to be a woman out there that I can help. And somehow I found the webpage that Michelle Revelle created with Kirstin's family and her friend Brandy Morast. And I said, you know what? If what you're saying on this webpage is true, and if she's really innocent, and she was a victim of attempted rape, who defended herself only enough to get away, who was framed for the sexual mutilation murder of a homeless man in a different month on the other side of town, like you say, if you can prove that to me, I can't promise you anything, really, because I'm just a junior in college. I don't have any credentials. But what I do have is I do have the mindset of a woman who has survived sexual assault at gunpoint, and who wasn't able to defend herself, and who wants to make a difference. I do have a little bit of web design experience, and I know that I can make you a better website. But beyond that, I don't know what I can do, but I'll try and find out. So they sent me a box. Michelle Revelle sent me 60-pound box of trial transcripts the next week. And I didn't make the website. I didn't make the website until I had already read every page.
That's cool. I hear you.
That's awesome,
I hear
man.
you. You know what, Lorenzo? Let me ask you something. How does that make you feel to hear that somebody just, was searching to save a life and ran across your daughter?
In truth, it makes me feel a little inadequate of myself because, if somebody who doesn't even know my daughter can put in that kind of time, like I said, I was frozen in time. I didn't know what to do. So now I'm committed to not only helping my daughter, but after this past week, I met some people who changed the course of my thinking and my life and touched my heart. And I'm here to do what I can do to help them too, because there are many people out there that are wrongfully convicted. And Helen, just think about all the things that she has done as an inspiration to me, to my family, and I imagine she's probably an inspiration to many others. This girl's going to go wherever she wants to go, and we're going to be with her.
I hear you.
Now, key point that you mentioned there is, wrongful convictions in general. So, when once justice is finally, first of all, one question for people that do have family or friends of someone who's who's been wrongfully convicted. How important is it to not just be committed to that individual case, but instead to be committed to fighting wrongful convictions in general, recognizing the things that cause wrongful convictions and raising awareness about that, seeking to get changes made so that this doesn't happen to other people, and not disappearing if and when victory happens in your individual case. How important is that? I want to start out with Lorenzo, and then I'd like to have Helen weigh in right after his answer.
Well, I think that it is extremely important to look at wrongful convictions in general, because there's many of them, which means there's too many darn mistakes being made out there, and that's where the problem lies. So we got to fight the good fight all around, because all around will help the person that we're trying to help too. You can't just help one without helping the others. Yeah, you can focus on one, but it's got to be a national push out there, because there need to be real changes made. There needs to be accountability. You have to do things right. That's just the way that it is. we're required in our lives out here in everyday life to do things right. And if we don't, we're held accountable. Well, I think that when you're in charge of the system, so to speak, and you have to do things right too, because if you don't, you should also be held accountable. There should be absolutely no immunity. That's
Helen, could you come in on the what is your views on the answer to the question I posed? I mean, what do you think about fighting, wrongful convictions in general, not simply focusing on one case to the exclusion of the bigger picture?
Well, to be honest with you, Jeffrey, I had my eyes opened by a man named Hans Scherer. This man runs the Justice Institute, has a database of all the wrongful convictions that have maybe ever happened on his website at justicedenied.org. And when I came out to advocate for Kirstin Lobato, Michelle and I had contacted Hans Scherer in Seattle, Washington, and he and his magazine, Justice Denied, the magazine for the wrongfully convicted, featured her in his magazine after he studied the case. And he actually recently did a whole magazine dedicated just to Kirstin. I think it was issue 50. But the thing about it is, he showed me that, because I wanted to be an attorney when I came out here in 2006 for Kirstin's retrial. I wanted to be an attorney, and I told Hans, I want to be an attorney. And he said, you know what? If you're an attorney, you're going to have to work within the confines of the system. If you're an activist, you might lose jobs. You might be ostracized. How are you supposed to live within that system, work within that system, and accuse people of prosecutorial misconduct and accuse judges of judicial impropriety? You're going to be a black sheep with $1,000 debt. I mean, with $100,000 in law school debt, who can't get a job or work at a practice. You're going to be, if you're going to do this, you need to do it from the outside as an activist and do what you can to raise awareness. And I found out when I, found out from Hans all of this, I met people like Tam Alex in Memphis, Tennessee, who advocates for Jamie Snow, at his website, freejamiesnow.com, who was convicted 10 years after a crime on a police lineup where the guy had said 10 years prior that it was two different guys. And then all of a sudden some reward money disappears that no FOIA requests have been able to recover the source they went to. And now he's testifying as Jamie Snow. It's just one of those things. And
Right.
And there's Deborah Milkey in Arizona, and there's Brian Ferguson in Missouri. There are real wrongful convictions that are verifiable that you can find. And until there are no more wrongful convictions, until we correct the system, and I'm actually going to quote the man right next to me. Did you know that 9 times out of 10, actually 1,000 million times out of 1,000 million times, prosecutors get away with this without any retribution, any criminal charges? They get away with this. And Kirk Bloodsworth said recently to 1 in 10? In an interview with 1 in 10, he said, you know what? When you're there's a thing called medical malpractice. If you mess up somebody's body, you get charged.
That's right.
Right. The whole idea is that, we have so many mistakes, human error. There was it was like 4,000 surgical mistakes last year by surgeons. I mean, how come the criminal justice system can't make a mistake? The National Registry has it over 1,100 plus now. We've had 300 and some DNA exonerations in the United States. 147 of them are from death row. 142 are from death row. I'm one of them. I tell you, it is a problem, and we got to start making people be accountable. The lawyer in my case, she was made a judge.
Now, in terms of making people accountable, we use the word mistakes, and at times I think that it is a good faith error. But at other times, though, it involves prosecutorial misconduct. It involves withholding evidence. It involves suborning perjury. It means accepting false testimony, because that furthers your case, and you give somebody an agreement, a deal, rather, a benefit in exchange for testimony. How often do you believe, Kirk, that these are indeed actually mistakes, as in implying a good faith error, as opposed to involving police and or prosecutorial misconduct?
I think that the latter is so broad we probably wouldn't even know. they can't even admit if they do make a make a mistake in general. Just they weren't following the rules. They thought what they thought, and they won't even agree to those type of issues, let alone that they withheld evidence about another suspect like they did in my case and pulled the report of the real killer in my case. And, I think it's by and large we were just hitting the tip of the iceberg on that end.
Speaking of hitting the tip of the iceberg, Helen, you've been instrumental in getting Change.org involved into supporting Kirstin's efforts at getting further DNA. It seems like when you first got your initial little wave of support, that was just the tip of the iceberg, and now the count of people who have signed the petition in favor of DNA testing is quite large. Would you share with us that number, please?
Oh, sure. Let me see what it is right now. It's really exciting. In fact, actually, the prosecutor in Kirstin Lobato's case is running for judge right now, and early voting started today, if you were interested. Let's see.
But as of the last time, you don't have to look it up as we're on the radio.
No,
but
yeah.
As of the last
time I looked, it was at, I think it was at 198,768. Nope. Now it's 198,775.
Okay. Let me do this real quick. We down to 5 minutes. William, are you still with me?
Yes, I am. Cogee.
I want to ask you and Kirk this question. I'm going back and forth to you guys real quick. People don't understand what Kirstin's going through right now, being wrongly accused. Can you speak on that real quick, William? And then I want Kirk to say something, because we're down to 5 minutes, and then we're going over into the third hour. And, Kirk, we really want to hear your story. God bless you. I'm glad you out. You definitely a testimony, and I know you're going to bring it, man. I see it in your face. You ready. But, William, real quick, they don't understand what Kirstin's going through. Can you let the public know what she's going through real quick?
Well, basically, she's undergoing a phase in her life right now where she's trying to have the public and have the judicial system correct the wrong. It's crucial for her to maintain focus, like I was saying all along, and her dad, with her dad's support there, that's invaluable. She'll be, I think, with the father's support and now, or the public support, maybe we can possibly try to put a little more pressure on that system and make it let the judicial system know that they have to definitely look into this matter and hopefully correct.
Okay. I got to go to Kirk real quick. We're on a time limit. Kirk.
Well, I have to say that Kirstin is suffering from one of the greatest ills in our social justice system. She is being held in captivity for something she didn't do, and it's day after day after day after day after day, knowing that you are in there for something you didn't do. It is one of the most horrible experiences that I've ever experienced in my time, having dealt with this over the last 28 years now. I have to say, God bless her, and my heart is with her every second.
Okay, I hear you. Great words from both of you guys. You know what? What I want to do right now, I definitely want to say, to Lorenzo. Lorenzo, you can stay locked in with us, right? Or you got to go?
I've got to go, but you know what? I'd like to thank you all for having me on.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank everybody for putting in the time and the effort to get this information out there. And, from my family to all of yours, much love, everybody.
All right. And
God
give your wife
you.
and the whole family our love as well.
I know,
and
we also need to let William go. I know he has some things he has to do tonight. He actually only planned to be on an hour, but giving yet another example of his giving of himself, his life, his time. He stood on with us an extra hour, but I don't want to run that in the ground. I know he has something he has to do. So, William, I'd like, on behalf of Cogee and myself, I'd like to thank you for joining us and sharing your story, and just not being one of those guys that just fades back into society, very rarely to be heard from, but instead, adding your voice and your experience, to people, such as myself, who've been out here for a little while working on this. I want to thank you so much, Bill.
There's no. Listen, though, you don't have to thank me enough. I'm going to ride this wave out with you, Cogee.
Thank you.
And all the that are going to, that are looking to correct this system. Thank
All right.
you.
Well, thank you, man, and much love to you and your family, and to your wife, man. Hey, continued success.
Feelings are mutual, Cogee. Take care, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you, brother. All right, I appreciate you. All right, so everybody, hey, I definitely want y'all to stay locked in. We got our third hour coming up, and like I said, we got my man Kirk Bloodsworth in, and he's definitely going to bring it with his story. Y'all don't want to miss it. Keep your pens and paper right in front of you, but use them for something, hey, that can save your life later on. Write down this information that we give you. No doodling. Don't do that. Don't draw and all that stuff. Let's write down stuff that can save you and your family, because this can happen to anybody. So stay locked in. Jeffrey, you're doing a great job. You good, my brother?
I'm good, Cogee.
All right, so we're going to go into the third hour, everybody. Stay locked in. This is Conversations with Cogee. We ain't only talking, baby. We saving lives. Stay locked in. We'll be right back.